Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk. As always, you have myself and Adil, and today we have a debut, avid Arsenal fan, Atef, joining us today. He's broken the barrier to come on due to the North London derby win. Like he's got some confidence back. So yeah, he'll be joining us. So welcome to the show, Atef.
Thank you.
So
Really happy.
nowhere else to start. Let's start with the North London derby. I mean, the last time Arsenal won away at Spurs was when Mikel Arteta was the captain for Arsenal. What a win! What did you make of it, Atef? What's your reaction to it?
Yeah, to be honest, obviously going into it as an Arsenal fan, your heart tells you like we're gonna win this. But my brain was telling me no, we haven't won in ages, like years and years. Every time we go, no matter what the form is, we never get the win. So after the game, that was very, very, very exciting.
Yes,
Incredible.
watching it to get that. Adi, what did you make of it? Seemed like we played like it was our home ground, to be honest, the first half.
Yeah, I mean that first half performance was so commanding. I mean the manner in which they started off the game, they just completely dominated. Tottenham bullied them. Really, it's what Tottenham do to teams, which is kind of just put the physically just dominate teams and really through their mentality just show a different edge. But it was just Arsenal just completely had a different intensity. It kind of suffocated Spurs. They weren't ready for it, and utterly impressive first half. I mean, it was like Never was saying, men against boys. It really was. That first half, Spurs
great
players
turnaround.
looked startled. They looked startled.
What did you? I mean, second half, Tottenham looked like. I mean, obviously, we all knew they're going to come back into a bit more stronger. A bit of pride's going to play into it, but Arsenal seemed to handle the pressure really well.
Yeah.
Go on, Atef.
Second half, we did look like we were resting on our laurels a little bit, allowing them to get on us basically. But I think we handled it well. We let them have their fun basically, and we cut out exactly when we needed it.
Yeah, I do. Sorry.
No, I'm just thinking. I think that's the luxury of going in 2-0 up. Going to a stadium where, just like the fans, had that presence that the players will know of the record, will know of the how long it's been since they've won there, and I think it was just perfect tactics because although Tottenham were winning the ball back and building the other than Sessegnon's chance, a lot of it was long range. A lot of it felt like it wasn't really dangerous. I know. I mean, I thought the save for Sessegnon's shot from Ramsey was really good, but the others I felt they're good saves, but Ramsey made it easy because he's on the right side. Like the Kane one, he was on that side. I didn't think it was something like the Contes end up making it like Ramsey's keeping them in the game. It's like there's like a pro Spurs bias always in the media for some reason. But
listen, there's always a hate against Arsenal, so we're used to it.
But when you go back to the stats of it, and Ketcher still had the best chances of the second half.
Yeah.
So all this talk about it's just for 20 minutes. And then Arsenal's counter-attacking looked good, and it wasn't really so. Yeah, luxury of having 2-0 lead.
Like you said, there's only two good saves that he made. The rest were pretty much you expected a keeper to save those, really, unless you're Hugo Lloris, of course. But what in terms of Tottenham again going 2-0 down, it seems to be a consistent. Clearly, this is an issue. Conceding so many goals.
I think that's their game plan. We spoke about it. So I said we spoke about it last time. That's their game plan. That's what they want to do. They like to sit off. They like to put energy.
It's a derby.
Yeah, but obviously they don't have he doesn't have confidence in that defense or in their attacking players to open up. And so he's only willing to do it when the opposition has expended a lot of energy, and then they can match up. And the pressure of the time and the game and the mindset of the players. But ultimately, this Spurs team doesn't have a 90-minute performance, and against the better teams, like we saw today, they don't mind playing on the counter and still looking the more dangerous team, and kind of just letting Spurs dominate without causing any problems.
In terms of
Conte, yeah,
sorry,
can I add to that? It seems like Conte was trying to adjust to Arsenal itself, and I think that set the pattern the whole game. Like, for example, he played Ryan Sessegnon as left back instead of his left wing back, and I think that's all because of Arsenal. They were just scared. They really were. They even set up the way they set up just to stifle us instead of play their football. So from the start, it was telling.
Yeah, I mean, what is Spurs football right now? It's not. I mean, it's just build a bit of momentum in the second half, and go for it in the second half. But I think you're right. Certainly, first half, they look shell shocked with the intensity and freedom Arsenal played with.
Atef, in terms of Arsenal, do you believe? Are you confident enough to go out there and say that they're going to go on and win the title? What's your thought on that?
My heart says yes. My brain says no. We just got halfway into the whole season, and it's been a struggle to get it. Like, we've been playing amazing, but everyone can see it. It's like during the Newcastle game, we could tell we need something good and different off the bench, which we just don't have. So going the next 20 games, only dropping 7 points is really, really ridiculous to imagine. I mean, I would love to 100-point season. I'll take it, but it's just not going to happen.
But you can look at it today. Even today, again, defensive subs first. So he couldn't really bring anyone on that's gonna get up to that level that's required. Adi, what's your view on that?
Yeah, I think you just touched on both of your points there. That number one, it is a long way to go still. I think it just hit halfway mark to the season now, or just past the halfway mark to the season. Arsenal will go through a blip, but I think that so far they've shown that they can answer every question. I mean, they're answering questions that's coming. We all question what would happen when
it was in October, wasn't it?
Gabriel Jesus is out.
Oh yeah.
And Nketiah is doing a good job. Even today, I thought Nketiah had played well, even without scoring. And yeah, I mean, all these concerns, they are, at the end of the day, the only game they've lost is against United, where they dominated the United. They were the better team. So maybe there is a formula there that can maybe beat this Arsenal team, which is, a team playing on the counter with the pace. But at the moment, when it comes to just a straight out, football game, whose attack is better than the other, even if one team wants to defend deep, Arsenal has all the answers. They've got the combinations. So yeah, I think it's definitely the balls on their court. They're the favourites. And it works in their advantage that the Premier League is so strong now, because other teams will keep dropping points. They are not looking convincing. No other team looks as complete as Arsenal. Maybe Newcastle, but they don't have as much quality that Arsenal have. But when you look at teams that playing well from every area of the game, on the ball, off the ball, mentality, fitness, it's Arsenal and Newcastle do stand out from the rest. The other teams have been unconvincing at many points in the season. So that should give us the fans confidence, and the lack of experience, will worry anyone, and there will be a blip. But as long as they keep winning this month, I mean, once Europe comes in, it's going to get tough for the other teams.
I think there's three things from my point of view. I think you kind of touched up. One is obviously the lack of experience. Two is how they bounce back from those losses and how quickly they bounce back. Because if they go on a spell of 2-3 games, then obviously all of a sudden that lack of experience and the player is going to get nervous and it's going to come into it. And thirdly, if we don't strengthen within this transfer window, I think it's going to cause massive issues. Just like we've seen last year, I think it's going to be an issue this year. So I really think, even though, yes, and they'll bring on to my topic next of Mudryk, even though we didn't get Mudryk, we need to go out and get, I don't know, who are target B's or C, whoever it is, we need to get minimum 2 players for me. And that's why I think it's required. Because once you're in a good place, and I keep saying this, you need to take that next step. You need to take that next jump. And the board needs to back the staff and Mikel Arteta, really.
Yeah, like we're two injuries away from going back to normal, basically, honestly. The key point is midfield and obviously up front. Like those two, if Partey gets injured or Xhaka gets injured, that's it. Our season's over. We're back to top 4 challenges.
What's your reaction to missing out on Mudryk, Atef?
Man, I haven't seen that. Like that hasn't happened to me yet. So experiencing that has just been funny, man. I was just driving my car, like doing my work. 10 minutes later, I hear Mudryk's going Chelsea for some reason, and my head was gone. I can't believe it, man. And it's so ridiculous the way he's gone as well. The amount of twerking he was doing for Arsenal, and now he's just shipped over to there. Oh man, unbelievable.
Money talks. I do. And at the end of the day, that's why it seems like obviously Chelsea went in with the 100 million euros bid, offering him 8.5-year contract of 200k, which Arsenal were nowhere near, and it seems like changed the player's heart.
I think it's a bit harsh to say that's changed the player's heart. Then the day, Arsenal could not agree a deal with Shakhtar Donetsk. Shakhtar Donetsk made it clear they weren't going to budge. Arsenal made it clear they had a limit that they weren't willing to go above. I just feel like that's everything aligned for Chelsea and Mudryk, and at the end of the day, you can't begrudge a player for trying to get as much as he can. Chelsea is a terrible team. They do have an exciting project. They have a project where they're spending a lot of money on young talent. So, yeah, I don't put any blame on anyone here. It's at the end of the day, Shakhtar has a price. Chelsea were the only club willing to meet it. A bit like João Felix, same thing. Only one club was willing to meet the astronomical sums, and you can't. This doesn't say anything on any of the other teams or Arsenal missing out. At the end of the day, you look at the example of City, they missed out on many players, Fred or, probably luckily in that case, Kane, many other players, Cucurella, because they're not willing to get bullied in the transfer market or pay over the odds. So, again, I just feel like it's another positive sign that Arsenal didn't allow themselves to get bullied, and they've just cleared out the decks. They've just moved away from that model. Why would you start going back to that model of giving players stupid money before they've proven it? I think the result just showed a lot about the character of this Arsenal team, how united they are, how much they are in sync with the way they want to run as a club. And for me, this is a test, and they've come with flying colours. Another test that they've passed.
In the long term, it'll help for them.
And now apparently they're interested in trying to get Rafinha from Barca. So
yeah.
I mean, as an Arsenal fan, I'm happy with the board. the decisions right now so far, they've been working. So, like example, Locatelli and the striker from Juventus. Vlahovic, yeah, exactly. They didn't want to pay too much. It didn't happen. We moved on. Then we got Jesus, and look how happy we are. Like, it is what it is.
Yes, yeah, so I think definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll get to the Chelsea and their model. But we can see the examples of the teams that are being run well and have a prolonged, sustained a success. It's teams that don't get bullied by agents and clubs in the market.
Looks like it's gonna fend well. Are there any Atef, any last words before you leave us?
Yeah. In 3 months' time, we'll be lifting the trophy, and I'll be laughing in Adol's face. That's what it'll be.
But thank.
Hopefully I'll be back on soon again. But...
Yeah, I mean, probably next week if we win.
Yeah, of course, absolutely, yes.
Adil's a United fan, by the way.
There you go. Yes, after we beat this team,
he's waiting for it. He's waiting to beat us and laugh at us. But Adil, thank you for joining us.
Looking forward to a good game. Analyzing it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll see him. Yeah.
But yeah, again, Atef, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Cheers. Bye.
That was Atef, avid Arsenal fan joining us for the first time. Adil, let's switch back to Spurs, obviously, and Conte losing at home against their bitter rivals, something you wouldn't have expected from a Conte team. But not only that, I mean, there was bitter scenes at the end. I mean, a fan attacking the goalkeeper, which is completely outrageous. I don't know what they're doing. But yeah, what's your take on them? And it just seems really, really ugly.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few things there with them. Obviously, everyone knows about Spurs' slow start, but this one was they were overpowered, they were overruled, they were outmuscled, outmaneuvered. This wasn't just any old slow start. This was non-existent. They weren't, they just weren't there. So I think the manner of that first half was absolutely shocking, considering it's a derby, considering the build-up. Kane was giving it a lot as well. So this is the first time I saw Spurs team that lacked belief and character. That's what surprised me. So they got big problems. And Bentancur is a big loss for them. He brings a bit of that, taking the ball under pressure. He's the guy who who makes them tick. So I think that can't be underestimated. Regarding the incident, what frustrated me about it is Richarlison.
Yeah, what was he doing?
This is the guy who is a pantomime villain.
Yeah,
with every single away fan going. If he's winding up opposition players, doing kick ups and headers, and he's always got comments with and I like it. I like him as a player. I don't have a problem with that, but then for him to take exception with Ramsey celebrating, you have to be man enough to take that. At the end of the day, you just got spanked. You just got in your own home, buried. Don't get upset at the opposition team celebrating, especially when the fans were sticking. And it's all lighthearted. Yeah, there's no need.
Well, I mean,
Carlson to get involved.
Yeah, fans were giving it to him, so he gave it back, and he wasn't even
use it as motivation for the next time you play him. Yeah, so that's what I have to say on that. But with the fan coming in, that's shocking. The thing is, they have so many stewards there, and they're just watching the thing. They're sitting on their chairs and just allowing someone to walk across the barriers or step on the barriers. It's terrible. Unfortunately, it looks like it's someone young, someone petulant, someone who just couldn't handle the banter between the fans and Ramsey. It's part of football. That's part of the British culture, where the fans give a lot of stick and a lot of banter, and players give it back. It's part of really disappointing scenes, really disappointing. I thought it took Spurs too long to react to it. I think they waited to see the media reaction first. That's another thing that disappointed me. It's taken the FA, PFA, and the media channels to make a big deal out of it before Tottenham give a response. That's a joke. Do you get it? That's not a good enough response for my liking, anyway. And the other thing was, if ever there was a bigger contrast in a game between two captains, I mean, Odegaard absolutely shone the whole game.
Yeah.
Him and Partey, I felt, really stamped their authority on that game. So did Saka. Their big players really turned up. Lloris even before he made the blunder for the goal, he was making blunders. He looked
He
startled. He looked like the occasion was too big for him. You're at home. You're playing the team top of the table, your biggest rivals. You're an experienced player. If your World Cup winner, your most experienced player, is bottling it, no wonder I had such bad first half. So yeah, I think Conte, he's one of those managers. He'll get over this. He'll keep them there or thereabouts. The problem he has is other teams are better. Other teams are playing without fear, and unfortunately, they play with fear for 45 minutes. And he's kind of been stubborn in keeping the reins on and making them secure and safe. Tottenham's best asset is attacking. They need to just play an open brand of football because at the end of the day, Son, Kane, Kulusevski is a front three that can compete with anyone. And I think he just needs to move away from protecting protecting their goal and then trying to go for it in the second half. It's successful. I'm not saying it doesn't work. But this season, there's a lot of teams playing front foot football with less fear, and they're more successful because of it.
I mean, I couldn't have agreed more with what you said about Richarlison and his antics, and obviously the fan coming on to kick Ramsey is absolutely atrocious. Could you imagine that happened in Qatar? Oh my God, the media, everyone would have been going bonkers. But obviously, it's happening in England. It's okay if it happens in the UK. They're not going to make us big, but it's an occurrence. It's not just happening there. It's happening we'll talk about it later on in Everton. What's happening there, it's continuous. It's a continuous problem. But do you think Conte? Obviously, I don't know if he signed the contract here. Do you reckon he's going to see out until end of the season, and then decide depending on what happens? Or
it all feels like a homecoming, a game being set up for Pochettino. It just feels like every time they struggle, it just makes more and more sense because at the end of the day, the fans don't like the brand of football Conte plays. Even though he's fixed a lot of things, he's improved a lot of things, especially the mentality. It's not a perfect fit at the moment. That's causing problems. Then also you have the thing of Juventus really want Conte back. So it just makes sense to me that, eventually at the end of the season, Conte moves on and Pochettino comes back. But let's see.
It seems like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. And every week, Conte doesn't sign a contract, and every week Spurs are in the top four. Levy will be thinking about calling Pochettino. He'll have his number, look at it, thinking,
it doesn't get any easier because they got Man City away next week, and I think after another game they got Man City again. So I mean,
yeah, but something tells me that Man City game is a game that
listen. I hope you're right.
Tottenham could do something. I don't know why.
I hope you're right.
Because let's be honest. I mean, Spurs struggle more at home than away. So do City. City is more fluid away from home than they are, when they are at home. So let's see. It'll be interesting either way.
Let's move on, Adil. Let's move on to the other derby, the Manchester derby, where your team, Man United, came out on top. What did you make of it? What was your reaction to the result? 2-1, great win against the bitter rivals.
Yeah, I mean, the result was fortunate, but they've said that a lot about United this season. Is they definitely have that winning mentality. They have that mindset where there's been games where probably haven't deserved to win, but they play to win. They play to score. They don't ever feel like they're out of the game. That belief doesn't go. So you have to give them credit for that. You can Ten Hag talks about it a lot. The belief, the winning mentality, and they clearly do have that. But highly fortuitous with the first goal.
Definitely.
Um,
Was it offside for you, Adil?
For me, it was because he made movement towards the ball.
Yeah.
And the other thing is obviously it becomes unfair when the striker makes a movement towards the ball like that, and the defenders know he's offside. They've played the offside. They know he's offside. They got no reason to sprint and potentially injure themselves.
You can see Akanji stop. You can see Akanji reduce his speed because he saw Rashford was offside.
Yeah. So I do think it's an unfair rule. By the letter of the law, maybe it's not. But for me, he did.
By the letter of the law, if he's influencing the play, then he is offside, which he was. So that's why I was surprised. VAR.
I was saying two things: if he touches the ball or influences the players, so the argument then comes that
you influence Akanji.
Well, that's where it's subjective. I don't believe he did, in the sense that when it comes down to the law, Akanji was never catching up Bruno Fernandes or Rashford. Let's be honest about that. He wasn't catching any of them. So I don't think that argument is true anyway. But it's still unfair. It's still unfair because at the end of the day, it would have been slightly more pressured. He would, you could say it might have affected Ederson, but to me it looked like Ederson positioned himself for Fernandes to shoot anyway, not Rashford. The way he's come out straight, the angle he's come out, or else he's left the whole half of the goal completely free for Rashford to shoot it in. So
I'll tell you the other thing, because like in the Liverpool game, I don't know if you've seen that part. Trent Alexander-Arnold, the ball got deflected, it's going off. He was offside, but he was kind of like letting the ball go off, and the liner flagged it. He wasn't even interfering. He's just like he's put his hand up, and then obviously the linesman. So yeah, it's
definitely inconsistent, definitely lucky. But at the end of the day, decisions like that happen.
Yeah, exactly, and they took it, and then they went in to get the second goal, and another brilliant goal, well played by Garnacho. Instantly.
Excellent on two counts, because it's not just the cross, or it's more the way the impressive thing, because I've seen
to beat the offside
in the season so far, he keeps running offside quite a few times. He doesn't hold that run or arc his run, so that was impressive to see the improvement, the intelligence, and the intelligence of Fernandes, because quite a few times in that second half, and one of the reasons why United lost control of the game in the beginning of the second half was they kept rushing the pass over the top. And City had made their positioning and adjustments better, that they were able to read it. So that extra touch, extra composure from Fernandes was key, but it needed Garnacho to cut back and stay on side. So really good. Clearly, Spurs, City lost their way a bit, and they were still, in a confused state after the award of the first goal. But no one can tell me City was really playing that well or creating.
No, they weren't.
Even in the first half, Rashford should have scored 2 goals. 2 good chances, clean through. I felt in terms of the team that threatened the goal or looked like scoring or played with the intent to score, it felt like that was United the whole game, not really City.
Even in the first half, City just really looked bit leggy, bit complacent, because they gave away the ball so many times, and it was unnecessary where there wasn't too much pressure as well. So it just seemed really clumsy. And you can, I don't know if you saw Pep Guardiola's press conference afterwards. He's like, we're out of the Southampton, we're out of the League Cup. It doesn't matter. We won so many times. Like, what's going on? Is the back of there, or what's happening with Man City?
I just think Um, I think he's trying to keep the confidence of the team up. He knows they're not playing as good as they were. A lot of that is down to him. You know, he's not playing his strongest team. He's playing different players all the time. He's trying to motivate other players. He's trying to make a point. He's trying to maybe think long term, developing certain people. Either way, it's coming at a cost because they're not playing good football. They're not playing cohesive football. They may still dominate possession, but they're not doing much with it. I mean, Haaland in the first half, I remember him touching the ball like 3-4 times.
Yeah, I don't remember.
He barely touched the ball.
Yeah.
He had that block shot and done nothing else the whole game. You know,
but they're not getting it into him, Adil. They're not even able to get the ball into
even
him.
Foden. How much were they getting the ball into Foden?
No.
So I think they're becoming a bit too much of, you know, get the ball to De Bruyne and he creates for Haaland and clearly United tactically had done certain things to stop that, stop De Bruyne getting on the ball and Haaland getting space to run into his favoured areas. So they forced Haaland deeper and deeper and deeper.
I thought Fred was excellent in the first half in terms of blocking off De Bruyne because De Bruyne just didn't get space anywhere. He was clattering him every single time. And even the mini little fouls they were doing in the right areas where they weren't allowing City to build, like Malacia was doing a couple of times, even Fred, where before they turn, he kind of like a little knock, they're down, free kick, nothing, boom. But they're not allowed to build or build any momentum. I thought that was really good from United. I thought it was smart.
Yeah, and again, the only time United struggled in the start of the second half because they became a one-trick pony, but they just kept trying to play the ball in behind for Rashford, and it became very predictable, and they stopped actually playing football passing, and it took them conceding to go back to playing football, taking some initiative in the game, and when they did, as we saw this City team, you can get at them. You can, break their midfield line because that midfield isn't strong enough. And I felt Pep tactically wasn't great either. I mean, even in the first half, you could see Casemiro was fatigued.
Yeah.
I mean, he struggled with the pace of the game. The whole game, early in the first half, he's giving the ball away, he's struggling. It was crying out for a midfield change, but made the changes with Foden, with other players, but he didn't get a more attacking player in the midfield. Like a Gundogan was going to expose tired legs because Casemiro's been playing a lot recently. So, yes, I felt... Pep's too busy trying to prove a point to somebody. I don't know who, probably his players, but it's costing them.
Yeah, because there is no rhythm to their play, and there's constant. I don't know, you don't know who's gonna play which week because there's a constant change. Apart from obviously De Bruyne, Haaland,
Rodri.
Yeah, and Rodri. Sorry, you don't know who's gonna play, and that's gonna hinder any team that's playing because if you don't have a consistent team. Players always going to struggle. But with regards to United, you must be really happy. Obviously, 6 months in, he's beaten pretty much everyone. Really impressive. Seen tactically really on point. What's your thoughts on Erik ten Hag and the wonderful job he's doing? Because obviously they're sitting fourth, joint on points with the Newcastle.
Well, we said it quite a few times that he's been impressive. He's played, he's done everything correctly. He's done everything right. You can tell he's changing the culture at the club. You can tell he's definitely, he's very similar, has a lot of similarities to Ferguson, the way he does things. He's brought discipline back. And the thing that I was worried about, that I thought he'd struggled with, the media. Because his reputation in Holland was that he was a very forthcoming with the media, but he's quite open with them. He gives a lot of information. It's like he's educating the media or the Man United fans or listening to all his press conferences.
I like his directness.
And that's that side of things was a worry. That's even impressed me. So he's one of those managers you have to give 10 out of 10 to. He hasn't really put a foot wrong, considering he's had a lot to deal with. I mean, it hasn't been smooth. The club hasn't helped him. They brought players that they could have brought for 15, 20 mil less. They just delayed it and did that. Then there's players that he wanted that they've lost out on because of, so either way, he's not had it easy. He's had to deal with the Ronaldo situation. You can't be nothing but impressed. But for me, the biggest thing is the fact that whether they play well or not, there is clearly a mentality. And when you have a player like Casemiro saying Ten Hag is the manager that he's who had the most winning mentality that he's played for all the managers, he goes, Ten Hag is the most obsessed with winning out of any manager he's had. That says a lot, and you see that in this United team. For me, you see no matter what, they're playing to win, and they're believing they can win, whether they play well or not.
The other thing is really important as well, and you can see, and I was quite impressed with Fernandez's interview. You can see, and he pointed out last year they were individuals, this year they're a team, they're united, and you can see that on the pitch. And United, not just United as in playing together, but United in belief too, and that's down to Ten Hag.
Yeah, I mean, Fernandez is the best example of that because he was like Roy Keane yesterday. The best stuff he was doing was off the ball. The way he was sliding in, battling, harassing, his pressing was phenomenal. But when I watched Fernandez playing for Portugal in the World Cup, it reminded me of last year's Fernandez. The whining, the moaning, the constantly at the referee's backs. And he's not done it. He done it once in one pre-season save, got dropped, got put in his place by by Ten Hag, and he hasn't done it since. So that just tells you the discipline and the control and the way Ten Hag is getting all his players to really tie in with the philosophy that he's setting for the club.
That's the one thing. That's the one thing that used to annoy me about Fernandez. I used to really like him as about that. His theatric. I mean, his theatrics and the drama he causes. He used to infuriate me because you can tell he's a much better player than someone that should be doing that because his levels above. And this year, obviously, with the captaincy, he seems like he's really stepping up. And again, credit goes to the manager. You have to give it to him.
Yeah, and that's the best example of the culture change and the team first and the winning mentality. At the end of the day, when you're whining at the ref, that's a losing mentality. You're looking for an excuse. Even if the refs made a mistake, an error, done something bad, still to keep badgering him is a losing mentality. So ties in with everything we're saying.
Quick one before we move on. Rashford, I mean, he's been on some red hot streak, hasn't it? And again, scored against Man City. What's the sudden change? Bit of confidence, bit of belief in him from Ten Hag saying he's the main man. What do you think he is?
Yeah, he done a lot of work. It's well documented. He went to the, he went to the Nike HQ and other, and he spent 2 months in the summer, really, working hard on being dedicated to the game, to his fitness, to his working on certain areas he felt he was weak at, holding up the ball, weaker foot, finishing. So I think we're seeing the rewards of everything coming together. He's confident, he's positive. United are more structured team, and yeah, he's relied upon, and the manager trusts him, which he didn't always get when it came to Ragnick or anyone else. They're too busy trying to be like a head teacher rather than trying to get the best out of Rashford. And Rashford's that type of guy, you can just tell him a good conversation will fix him.
That's the thing. That's what a great manager knows, that different players need different things. Certain players need that bit of like loving and the cuddle, and then the other players need a bit more of a stricter version of yourself. So yeah, great balance there. In terms of obviously Man United, he sets up greatly for their next week game against Arsenal, really.
Yeah, it makes it intriguing. I think two things really, and it's kind of a bit of a flip.
Yeah,
because City are playing Tottenham on Thursday,
yeah,
and Arsenal playing United. So
yeah,
it's a bit of roles reversal, but it helps all of us, gauge and helps us with the barometer of where these teams really are against each other. Because yeah, you could say United won at home against City. Arsenal won away against Spurs. Now you're going to see Spurs and City, the two losers. If this was a semi-final, the third, fourth place playoff is on Thursday, and then the final. Yeah, so I think it just helps to see where the gaps are between the teams.
Listen, do you know what was really interesting for me? It just because I grew up where it was Arsenal United at the top, yeah. So it brings that back. I love that.
Yeah.
And it brings back those memories, and that's what it's going to be so interesting, and I'm really looking forward to it. It should be really good spectacle, because it's the old two guards coming back, to the limelight.
That game's going to be a lot more feisty and tasty simply because of where both teams are. I mean, if United win that, it really does get the talk going around their title challenges, and then suddenly everyone will start questioning whether Arsenal will go on a wobble, because I think they've got a tough January still going after that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and I'm sure the build up to that is going to be huge.
Yeah. You can already see. Well, it's probably going to start after the game against Crystal Palace, but you can see Sky already doing the build up within the game, because they know it's juicy. Listen,
there'll be lots of vids of Keane and Vieira.
Listen, it's Arsenal versus United. Come on, man. It doesn't get bigger than
and Keown and Van Nistelrooy. I'm sure there's going to be loads of bits of those.
I'm sure Ramsdale will probably do one of those jumps on some player.
And a couple of pizzas flying around.
Who's going to get sent off to the stand, though? That's the question. Probably Mikel Arteta with these shenanigans. But let's move on, obviously, because you're joining points with Newcastle. Another great victory against the on-form Fulham. Harden, Isak coming on to score. What did you make of it, Adil?
Yeah, I mean, they played well. They were the team pushing. Again, eventually overpowered. Fulham are a good team.
Yeah.
They'll regret the slip and not putting away the penalty. And that after that penalty just encouraged Newcastle even more. There's a big roar in the crowd that cheered up the players, and then Fulham were holding on after that, and eventually Newcastle got the goal they needed. And they're playing to win. They're playing, there's no part of them that is thinking of going for like they're in a title run. They're going for it. Really impressed with them today.
Big miss could be Bruno Guimaraes, who picked up an injury, so that might be a big issue in the long term.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be surprised if that's a serious injury that keeps him out for more than a few weeks.
Because it seems like they're wrapping up
more like a sprain.
So,
yeah. So let's see. But just like with Arsenal, we all were questioning what would happen if Gabriel Jesus was injured. It's the same. We were all asking the question: what would happen with Guimaraes injured? So let's see. They still won the game in the second half, so that's going to give them belief. And they look strong. They look really strong. I mean, they don't look like they're going to concede.
That's the scary thing. They defensively are sound. I think they conceded the least out of any team in the Premier League, got the best defensive record as well. So Yeah, I think that once you keep a clean sheet, you've always got a chance to get a goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, it bodes well for them. Let's move on. Brighton Hove Albion versus Liverpool. I mean, 3-0 thrashing. It felt like a thrashing to me when I was watching because the amount of chances Brighton have had.
Yeah, certainly in the first half. I mean,
Yeah.
wow, that was complete domination. And funny enough, when Liverpool played a bit better, that's when they conceded the goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Mistakes,
everyone's gonna keep looking at the result, and that's how it is, and that's why, you know, at Real Football Talk we call it out before it ever happens. We've been saying for time, this new system they're doing, they're gonna score lots and they're gonna concede a lot, and they're never gonna have control over games. It doesn't work. The system doesn't work in the Premiership, and they're trying to be cute in being flexible with it. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't work, and we're seeing that. So they really need to go back to, you know, their 4-3-3 or getting energy in that midfield, or accept that they can't be so open and try and be high press and high line. You know, you have to accept certain times you don't have the energy. Fabinho is not the same. Thiago is struggling physically. Henderson isn't the same. You've got old midfield.
Yeah.
You got no Van Dijk. You know, that formula of high press is all dependent on personnel and fitness, and you don't have those things. So I think Klopp needs to make an adjustment. But we saw with Klopp when last time Van Dijk was done, it took him months before he accepted what everyone was saying, and then they suddenly get back into the top 4 and going around.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably will continue for a few more weeks. It's too soon.
It's too stubborn, isn't he? Stubborn to change his
But
ways.
that's what makes them winners, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's what makes them winners as well. But
you know, one thing I gotta say, Mitoma was ripping Trent to shreds. Yeah, that was torturous for him.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't just Trent. I mean, it wasn't just Trent as well. But yeah, I just think that, you know, that mentality of buying physically good players, athletes, pace, power, you know, it works when they, you know, when you're going for it in attacking positions because of the brand of football they play. But it doesn't bail you out when it comes to defensive, because at the end of the day, defending, you do have to use your brain. You do have to, you know, make right decisions. When you're attacking, you know, you can get away with a lot. You don't have to be the most intelligent. If the team is playing in balls behind, creating the space for you, you don't have to be the most intelligent player, and you'll get chances and you'll score, especially in this Liverpool team. And you see that kind of with, you know, is it Nunes the striker now?
Nunes. So, well, he wasn't playing this game. Yeah. No.
Yeah, but you see that in the sense that you can tell he's not the most brightest of players, but you know, they're creating tactful transfer because he's got pace. So, but in defense, it don't work. Konate, you know, I saw him playing for France. I thought, wow, he looks like really comfortable, looks really good. But every time I see him play for, you know, Liverpool, the odd game he's impressed me. It doesn't look good, doesn't look confident. Last 2 games he's looked terrible. Gomez again looks, you know, doesn't look.
Welbeck flicked the ball over him in the box and went scored. I mean, come on, man.
And then they're buying these guys, you know, who are physical specimens, but they need to buy a bit more intelligence in actually the art of defending. They managed to get the combination both, you know, with Van Dijk, but even he's not defending well anymore. So there's something wrong with the way they're training the defenders on the system there, and it's that arrogance of just trying to overpower teams.
I mean,
you know, everyone's seen it now. Everyone's become braver because they know and yeah, they're missing, you know, a lot of a lot of the fans probably didn't understand how important Mane was, but he brought an assassin mentality that they are lacking.
Yeah.
Especially now with Jota gone. Jota kind of had that
Covered that.
mentality too. It's like, but there's no one really forcing Salah to or keeping him, in his.
Are you shocked with his performances, or is it because obviously he hasn't really
He looks a bit leggy. He looks a bit off. I am shocked because he didn't go to World Cup. I was generally expecting him to hit the ground running. But this new kind of way they're playing with him as a second striker, always coming in early. I don't know.
Do you think it's killing his space that he would usually create if he stays out? Because he's coming in early, it's already killing that space that would usually be there for him. Is that the problem?
I don't. Yeah, obviously he's having to do a lot more in front of the striker, in front of the defenders. So he's not getting, but he still gets enough. He still gets one or two chances, and still they're good chances. The old Salah puts them away.
Yeah. I mean, so, Liverpool 10 points behind top 4. Should they be concerned? Even Brighton's leaped above them.
100%, because they got a lot of problems in their team. They're not looking like a strong, and we said it a few weeks ago. Remember, you asked the question about China. It's going to be a struggle because they're not on form, and this new system isn't going to make you win games back to back. You will lose some against teams that play brave. You will lose some of those games, and Brighton completely demolished them.
Yeah, and Brentford before that. So this is two losses in the bounce, really. One at home, one away, and he brings me perfectly into the next team, really, Chelsea, who they're joint on point with on 28 points. One at Crystal Palace. What did you make of it? Seemed like a hard-earned point.
Yeah, I mean, again, they really do lack creativity. They struggle to create clear-cut chances, but that's just where they're at the moment. The wing-back system, I don't know, whether it works for them right now. But
they're playing forward at the back at the moment. It seems like more of a forward at the back. So
I think they're switching it a lot, but yes, today, I don't know, wasn't paying attention, really with the match, whether Chalobah played right back or centre back, but either way, it's not ideal, is it? And it still feels like they're buying all these players, and it kind of, they don't fit in to the like, even the case in point, they brought Mudryk. All right, if you're gonna play him as an attacking wing back, fine, he has played that role. But recently he's been playing like attacking winger. So is he gonna be happy to come in as a wing back then? So what way is he gonna play? Because they don't really play with wingers.
Maybe they're changing the system, Adil. Maybe they're going 4-3-3. Maybe they're changing. That's the plan.
Yeah, well, again, that's what I mean. What are they going to do with the other players that they got? And their system makes no sense to me. I mean, I do understand. I get the idea. They're buying all these really talented youngsters. They're all physical specimens. They all got strength, pace, young, exciting, loads of potential. And yeah, that element makes sense to me. That works better with Potter. But you still have so many experienced players there. And until you start getting rid of them, the club will have a toxic atmosphere, because Potter will start playing some of these youngsters, or else why would they sign? Why would you pay that much money?
Yeah.
And so it's just going to create an issue.
But long term, isn't it a problem? Because obviously you're paying this youngster all this money. You're getting him for 8.5 years contract. If it doesn't go well, all of a sudden you've got a player on a massive contract who's.
I think that's the risk with this model is it's not that it's whether it's going to go well or not. How long is it going to go well for? Because ultimately, he's a good player. I have no doubts about his quality. I have no doubts about his suitability for the Premier League. He's going to really light the league up, I think. In barring any injuries and that, he's a very good talent. It's a huge loss for Arsenal. I think he suited Arsenal's system to a T. They're a team that allows the attacking players to run at people, dribble. It's perfect for his game. So, yeah, probably the possession-based, so slower pace style doesn't suit him as well. But it won't stop him from being a success. I mean, he is a very good player.
But you know what? One thing I would say is it's a different profile to the players they've got so far, because majority of the players that they've got are very technical. They're not that fast. But with him, he brings that dynamism where he's fast, he dribbles at you, runs at you, he can run in behind. So it gives them that different profile as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely rapid. He's
rapid, isn't it?
He'll end up being one of the fastest players in the Prem.
In the Champions League this year, I think he recorded 36.6, which is the highest by any player. So
yeah, but the main thing is the risk is like I said, the 8-year thing, because this is a player he already knows. He won't show it now because at the end of the day, he's at a new club. There's more senior players. He needs to win the fans over. But when you're getting that type of money, that bigger contract, it does affect your motivation. You know, there's less, unless he's got that self-motivation, which he might have. He might be like Cristiano Ronaldo, got ambitions to be one of the greatest ever and can keep motivating himself. These long-term contracts on high wages does not allow for sustained success, because you do drop off. And you drop off why? Because you don't have anything to prove. That edge ain't there. You've got a 200k contract for X amount of years. The edge ain't there. How many times do players have their best seasons when they're running out of contracts? And then what happens? They end up getting a better contract. No one can tell me that having that edge does not impact on your performance. Look at Salah last season. Got the contract, straight away dipped. It happens. So I'm not saying it's deliberate.
Yeah.
But there is such a thing that none of us get to see that goes on in the mind, which is psychological. And it does affect. I mean, if you have something to prove.
Yeah, you're gonna fight for it. You're gonna have the extra determination.
And there's nothing that shows that. It's something that is unseen to the naked eye. And that's the bit that worries me is, fine, maybe 1-2 years, 200k over 8 years. What has he got to fight for?
The reason and the explanation that's been provided by one of the financial sporting expert is that it's so that there can be financial fair play. So with financial fair play, how they take it is that because it's over 8 years, the money is spread out throughout the duration. So because of that, that's why I think they put Benoit Bernard-Ashley and then Mudryk on a long-term contract, so that they can beat financial fair play, because that's taken their tally for the last 6 months to almost 450 million pounds.
It still makes no difference when you're trying to build a club. I mean, you're buying all these youngsters, but you're paying them crazy money. It just doesn't work. The system doesn't build harmony in a club unless you're an amazing manager and you manage to gel it all together. But Chelsea doesn't have that. Chelsea has.
What happens? All the stars come back.
Problem.
What happens when Sterling and everyone's back?
But everyone's going on like Sterling's been injured for so long. He's only missed a couple of weeks. He's only recently been injured.
No, I'm just saying, what happens?
A lot of their players have only recently been injured. So, I mean, and that's why I said I don't understand the system or their plan until they start getting rid of some of these players. It makes no sense what they're doing, because they're going for the best talents out there. huge talents, the potential superstars, all of them, but they're not going to be happy if they're not getting game time. They've all broken through. They all were established at their clubs, hitting big numbers. Yeah, the level might be less than Premiership, but none of them lack the confidence to believe in themselves. So what are you going to do? Drop senior players and then have, Ziyech and Sterling and all those players complaining in the background? And then the one area they really do need to get a player, it just seems like they're not ever signing, which is a striker.
Yeah.
Striker and the midfielder, it just feels like they need an energetic midfielder in there as well.
Yeah.
So I don't understand the plan. But they're signing some good players on stupid money. Good luck. I don't think it works.
It sets up really well. I mean, we won the last week, didn't we? Remember we said about the Workhurst and everyone else that anyone trying to sign any players, please make sure you do not put on BBC Gossip or mention it anywhere because Todd Bowley will go and get him. And that's what happened with Mudryk. But with regards to Chelsea, guess who their next game is, Adil? Liverpool.
Yes, so
I mean, joint on points. That's going to be really good as well. Next week,
I mean, a lot of the matchups have been like, even today is like, it was it's good matchups because you look at top versus fifth, fourth versus sixth.
Yeah.
They're all like top six, European teams. And it really does help you gauge where those teams are. And Fulham showed they're going to be in with those European places. They didn't look at a place. Spurs, you have question marks whether they're actually going to even be good enough to challenge for top four after today's performance. It just looked like there is a bit more of a bigger gap than anyone realized. But he's going to have the mentality, and they're going to keep chasing.
And that's the thing. I think that's the key thing there is, like we've always said, is Conte. And obviously having the points on board also helps, isn't it? In terms of Tottenham, obviously 33 points. They got a massive gap between themselves and not massive, but a gap between them. But obviously they're falling behind.
And I can't see Chelsea getting in there. I'll be honest.
No,
I don't think Potter has the mentality, and I wouldn't rule out Liverpool yet, but I don't think they will. But I wouldn't rule them out.
Can you not see them go on a run? Any of those two teams go on a bit of a run, 5-10 games?
I don't think Chelsea can, but Liverpool can. But again, those problems they're not problems that is easily you can fix, because at the end of the day, people are off form. People aren't in the best physical condition. That takes a few weeks to get there. So I still think, those two teams will keep dropping points. They will still drop points.
Let's move on to the bottom of the table clash. I mean, Everton versus Southampton. Loads of travel before the game. Even, I mean, their board members being told or they've been advised not to come to the game because of a crowd unrest and threat to themselves. And then after the game, obviously, after they've lost, players were getting stopped or barricaded in. Their safety was being in question. And then a great win for Southampton. Showed great character, and Nathan Jones gets finally a win.
I don't know. I think Everton's the type of club where, there's problems everywhere. Yeah, we've said it again. Another thing we've said way before everyone else has gotten on. We've always said the problem is the board. We've always said, how much we disagree with the whole Benitez situation because the board didn't support him. Too much politics in the background. It's all coming back around with their choice now. They wanted.
They wanted Lampard.
Lampard. They've supported Lampard. They've brought the type of players Lampard wants, which is British leader. How many more ex-captains do you need in a team? And you got, Tarkovsky, you got Cody, you got, they've brought. It's not like they got lack of leaders now. They haven't got a bad squad. They've got good defense. They've got solid midfielders.
Yeah. Yeah.
They got decent attackers. Yeah, they struggle when they lose this Calvert-Lewin as the striker. But the thing I don't get is why spend that much money on Onana then? In an area that you're kind of, I admit, looks like a real
He's been really good. He's been really
talent.
good for them. Yeah.
But why not go for a striker? If you're that worried about backup towards Calvert-Lewin, who is
Well, they
injured.
went for Mope, isn't it? They went Mope as the backup.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Listen, I'm just saying they went and invested. Mope doesn't obviously score that many goals, but that's who they went for.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it tells you the story there. But we said it before as well. There's problems with the fans in that club. They are way over their head. They think they are an elite club just because they're such loyal supporters. They're not elite club, not anymore. That was in the 80s. It's nearly 30 years, since then. So I think everything went wrong once they brought Ancelotti. Ancelotti brought that they're like this Galactical club feeling back. And since then, they've just been they needed a reality check. They've been in the clouds since then. And it's all come to a head, and it's nasty. But I think the behavior of the fans is still unacceptable. You can't barricade players. One of the reasons why the board got told not to turn out was because they headlocked one of the board members when they saw them on the street. And they sending death threats to them.
Very toxic.
It's a football club, and I understand how important it is and the heritage and all that, but you're not doing yourself any favors by taking it to that level. My personal opinion is they have every right to protest. They have every right to be upset and angry at the board. They have no right to do threats to that level where, because at the end of the day, there's so many clubs upset with this. There's so many clubs that have gone through far worse.
There's ways to doing things, right? There's no point. Yeah, you want to protest, go protest. There's no problem. There's no problem with it. Protest. But what they were even like, I mean, they were throwing flares at the Southampton hotel and stuff. Before the game, there was flares everywhere, apparently. So it's just an ongoing, and how is it going to help the team? How are you helping the team by doing all of this? All these background distractions is not going to help the team in any ways. And they were one of the reasons last year the home support kind of lifted the team and they survived relegation. They might cause their own downfall.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, they lost at home again. The situation getting more and more difficult, but there's so many things wrong with this, and we don't really talk about it enough because Everton ain't challenging or for whatever reasons. But one of the things that frustrated me when I was thinking about it before the game was you only compare the two managers. You got Nathan Jones, Frank Lampard. Nathan Jones, when you look at his, everyone's cussing him, everyone's Southampton off, everyone's ridiculing him. You got every ex-player who is afraid to say anything negative against Frank Lampard openly taking shots at Nathan Jones.
Yeah,
this is a guy who's won, got a team to win a championship, a league.
Yeah.
This is a guy who, has a good coaching pedigree. He's part of a successful Brighton backroom team. He done amazing to keep Luton Town when they're in the relegation zone, a few years
and to get into playoffs, Adil, with the budget
the third or second lowest budget in the championship. So there is pedigree there, and the way he gets kind of dissed. And then you look at Lampard, and people talk about his footballing pedigree, amazing, but coaching and your playing career, two different things. Everyone goes on about his record for Derby. Well, look where Derby are now. That was a false position because they spent they played roulette and they spent silly money on a lot of players. They spent millions of dollars pounds that they never had. Lampard was part of that. He's partly at fault for Mel Morris rolling the dice and going with this roulette approach. So a lot of his success is exaggerated to an extent because they spent crazy money on players and they had a crazy team and they still didn't go up.
He spent crazy money for Chelsea as well, and then look what he done to them.
Yeah, I mean, and again, everyone keeps going on like how hard it was the transfer embargo. Look, before the embargo kicked in, because they had a whole summer when they knew before, they brought players in. And, he did well, and he embedded the British and the young players in, but that's what he does. That's his identity. It's not because, he had no choice. That's what he prefers to do. He tried to do the same at Everton. He tries to build the team around a British school. But it's just the level of scrutiny. Here you have a manager who has actually worked his way, actually won something with the club, actually proven he can galvanize a team that's almost destined for relegation and keep them up. And then with one of the lowest budgets, challenge for playoff places. And then you got the opposite. But the contrast in the way, the pressure, the way they get ridiculed in the media is so. That was my just thoughts before the game. So
100% agreed.
And in a way, I'm so glad. You look at the two teams, even. It does not compare. I mean, Everton have got good players everywhere.
Experienced players. A lot of Southampton players have got experience.
You go through the whole squad. You compare it. Bazunu, Pickford, Tarkowski, Cody, and you're going with Lianco and Salisu. It just doesn't compare. The whole everywhere you look, it does not compare. And yet Nathan Jones is the one that's getting ridiculed more than anyone. So I think Frank Lampard has a lot to answer for. There isn't enough figures being pointed at him. He hasn't done a good enough job, and you still see it. There's moments when they try to pass football, they look like potentially a decent team, but for most of the game they're trying to lump it.
But I do that game. Southampton were the team that was on top.
Yeah, especially in the second half. But off the ball, you still don't know what they're trying to do. And the thing is, you can see improvement in Everton's play because Lampard is learning on the job. But you tell me any other manager that is allowed to learn on the job in the Premiership. And the thing with learning on the job is your messages become confused. You might slightly improve certain areas here, certain areas there, but it's hard for players to believe in a manager or what the manager is asking when the manager is not sure of it himself and he's trying things out. That's where they're at. They're in a real problem.
Listen, I mean, again, and it's so many games how it's been set up. Like next week's been set up in such a good way. Like because Everton's next game is against West Ham, who lost again, and it sets up for another brilliant game because potentially you could say whoever loses could get sacked.
Could potentially, and I think it is getting to that point where whoever loses will get it. And Lampard is lucky, let's be honest. If the board was not hated so much and wasn't so bad,
he would be gone.
The pressure on him would be unbelievable. The fact is, the fans aren't giving Lampard the pressure that he should be getting.
No,
because it's all going on the board. So definitely think.
I think they're all
West Ham, Moyes. That's a real shocker. I mean,
both sitting on 15 points. Well, I think next game, Everton go away to West Ham. So yeah, gonna be a sticky one, interesting one to look into because obviously Everton only drew one of their last 5, and West Ham have again similar situation.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way, no one was expecting West Ham or Leicester to struggle like they are. And even though we predicted Everton, well, I did anyway, to struggle because I didn't rate Lampard as a manager. The team they have is still quite a strong team. So it's surprising how much they're struggling. And the fact that, look, he's had so much time. You've literally had 2 pre-seasons.
Yeah, or pretty
How
much.
can you not have an identity yet?
Pretty much, yeah.
How can you not have an identity with your team?
We said this at the beginning of the season when we watched the preseason game. Everything just felt weird because he was just trying out different tactics.
That was the criticism. If anyone followed, the biggest criticisms he had was his pre-seasons and his lack of philosophy and identity in the way he sets his teams up. So the same issues have come back to Conte, and there's so many managers out there who are studying, improving, and things don't work out. Then you got someone just doing the same things again and thinking it's about talking to players and being positive and backing them and putting an arm around their shoulder. Yeah, fine, but you still need to organize them. You need to give them a game plan. You need to give them a belief.
Are they both too big to go down, or do you think they can? Because I think the way Everton everything's going with the backroom board stuff and the toxicity from their fans, it just seems like it's going to go down.
The thing is, before the season started, remember we asked about the picks of relegation, and I said, no, I would say Everton will struggle, but they won't get relegated. Why?
Yeah.
And I still think the same thing. They will end up getting a manager who is a bit better than Lampard, and even with West Ham, even though Moyes is a good manager, maybe his voice has become set. Then both clubs can get a manager, and because their squad is stronger than the others, you can see them going up.
Yeah.
So they can't get out of it simply because the squad is good, and they may end up with a manager.
Yeah.
That can galvanize them.
Listen, it sets up for a fantastic week of football next week. I'm looking forward to it. I know you are. For those of you watching, please make sure you carry on watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe as always. And thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.